Welcome to our first live stream here on Thought to Action's YouTube channel. I'm Chris Cordetti. I'm going to be dealing the questions today and working behind the board. We have a live chat next to us. If you have a question or comment for us, there's a lot to talk about, but we're doing it live, so you never know what's going to happen. With me, our president, Tony Shaffer, Lieutenant Colonel retired. We also have Lieutenant Colonel retired, but from across the pond, British intelligence. It's Tim Wilson. He's also the head of our Second Amendment Project. And we have with us Jay Homnick, Senior Fellow here at the London Center for Policy Research. Once again, I'm Chris Cordani. I'm the guy behind the mic with the headphones on. We're going to have some fun today, and we'd like to include you into this as well. You have a question or comment, send it to us. We'll have some fun with it. First off, we want to expand on the video we posted just a little while ago because it's just taking off. Twitter is going to change. It could change social media across the board for the better or for worse, but at least we're going to see a real open exchange of ideas on Twitter. But there are other things that we need to talk about as well. Like, hey, what happened over the last 3, 4, 5 years? There were different types of opinions skewed or hidden or overly highlighted depending on who was running things and who was censoring things over there. That's going to change, and that could change discourse, political, civil, both for the next couple of years. Gentlemen, what do you think? We'll start with Tony.
Sweet. Oh,
Let's start with you, Tony.
all right. So, Chris, thank you for honchoing this. Some of our folks didn't show up because of, stuff. So we're hoping to have this as a first of many live strings, and we really do want people to show up and ask us questions. And just to make it more fun, letting you all know the board is really afraid. My board is afraid I'm going to say something to get us in trouble. So I encourage you to tune in and ask questions so you can help fulfill the board's prophecy that I'm going to say something to get us in trouble. So that's a challenge to our audience to do that. So
yeah, we always want to make the board look good.
Yeah, the board looks forward to having to do all sorts of circles and commentary to explain why I said what I said. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get to that.
I do want to add that we're doing this on Zoom, gentlemen, and we will probably be doing this on a different or a few different formats later on. We'll be throwing different ones around, see what you like, but we're doing it on Zoom now, in case you're wondering. Okay.
So let's start off with an update. So I'd like to believe most of our audience saw our thing on the future of Twitter, and the summary of it is the culture wars. I had the unfortunate experience of having to be within about 10 feet of Brian Stelter on Saturday evening, and it's an experience that I'm still trying to detoxify from. It's kind of like walking next to a nuclear reactor and all your hair starts standing up. Fortunately, I was able to get past him and out of the building pretty quick. So I don't think I suffered any permanent effects. I don't think. I mean, we'll see. Maybe.
For the benefit of our board, what our president meant to say was...
I think he's saying what everybody else would have said if they were near Brian Stelter.
So anyway, on his show the next day, they had a CNN contributor, analyst, talking about how the idea that Elon Musk is going to take over basically indicates to him that, oh my goodness, the government must regain control. He said it flat out. We must control. The government must control all of this. And he went through all these laws that actually regulate it. So think about this for a second. I think we all recognize that many industries, especially those which become commodities, need to be regulated. You need to prevent basically monopolies. You need to examine and have in place standards which would prohibit Bernie Madoff, Enron type organizations. Those are all regulatory requirements. But he said control. And so, and then he went on to explain how it is inappropriate for anyone to have any control of the narrative outside of the approved government control. Now think about that for a second. I've grown up, I'm coming up on being a senior citizen, just saying. And I've studied this stuff a long time. And I'm pretty sure going back to even grade school, no one ever talked about the government being in control of things, especially things like communications, thoughts, and the truth. Because this all revolves around this new DHS Ministry of Truth that they're creating. And they keep lying. I'm just going to say it. I saw Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, lie about the purpose of it. Oh, it's just a coordination function of all our bureaucracies. No, it's not. Nowhere near that. And so I think this is where there's a real fork in the road. And as Johnny Carson said, when you get to the fork in the road, take it. And that's what we're going to have to do here is figure out how to push back on communist thought. That is either fascist or communist. I'm not sure which one it is. It's one or the other. Either it's an idea that we must have government control because the government knows best, or fascist control because they just want, as a party, and I would stipulate that this is a progressive concept now, the idea that they must control what the truth is, which then leads us to this Orwellian concept of future speak. And anybody who is watching us right now who hasn't read it, I would encourage you to go out and immediately buy a copy of 1984 and read the Adventures of Winston Smith, and you will come to understand exactly what we're talking about. It's very dangerous. So at this point, the left always ignores the fact that billionaires already control all the other media outlets. Zuckerberg, and they were saying Zuckerberg he was supporting Russian propaganda during the 2016 election because he allowed Russian ads. Like, no, he did the other thing. He actually funded Democrat organizations to essentially work to ensure that Democrat votes got into the system in swing states. So the idea here is that Musk, because he's a billionaire, it's bad because he's not part of their posse. And since he's not part of their posse, they don't want to accept his word or his intent to basically be what he calls himself, a free speech absolutist. And I think that's the only way to go if you're going to be within a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. And that power is dispersed throughout the system to include communications, to include social media and things like that. The accumulation of power into a single group, be it the government or a political party, is never a good thing. The founding fathers knew that, and I think we need to honor the memory of the founding fathers by making sure that the First Amendment is strengthened during this time where you see this channeling or funneling of information, and that only approved sources that are vetted by the government and that are part of this the mechanism of validation, which I would argue they will never validate or go against their side. It's all about political thought on the conservative side that they want to suppress and get rid of. And I don't believe for a minute Musk is a conservative, but I do believe that he is a guy who does believe that there's a great danger to our republic by suppressing free ideas and free speech. So that's the opening from my perspective.
Well, before we get
my initial reaction to Brian Stelter is his initials.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Here's something that bothers me too. This the head of the Minister of Truth, Mary Poppins, is you've seen the video, right? The TikTok video that's been passed.
I've seen the other one where she talks about who does she F
right.
to become rich and famous,
that-
which I like that one better.
I'm not sure if I hold a grudge on that one. That's just comedy. But what bothers me is this is a person who has propagated P-Gate. If you remember that one, or the Tom Arnold. I'm going to look for the P-Gate video. Again, I'm hoping the board doesn't get upset that I said that. But the fact is that
I think the board enjoys
but we're
a
trying
good bodily function. So
right, but we're trying to get to the bottom of this whole thing, and the idea, like you said, Tony, is not to suppress free speech as a whole, but to suppress free speech on the side of wrongthink. And
Right.
this is a woman who has said Oh my gosh, the Russian dossier is real. Russian collusion's real. Everything that was said about COVID is real. You must be locked down. I'm for more lockdowns. This is somebody,
Yeah.
and Jen Psaki just came on today in a press conference saying, "Oh, don't worry, this won't be partisan. This is absolutely, gentlemen, absolutely backpedaling, running defense and saving face." But does anybody believe a word that comes out of the White House anymore?
No, look, I mean, the best way of understanding that it is partisan is that our side, that the conservative side, would never accept an industry or ministry in the government or in the private sector that determines what the truth is for everyone else.
I'm I'm fascinated that I have never seen anybody from the left of the political spectrum saying something along the lines, oh, perhaps there is one, saying that they would fight for your freedom to say what you like.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard kind of said that in her video yesterday. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
she said that.
Why there's
But everybody
one.
on the
But
left thinks she's a
Elizabeth-
right winger.
Elizabeth Warren was asked to comment on all this, and what I found fascinating was the way that she warped the language by saying, "Who could be against banning hate speech?" Well,
I'm against banning hate speech. I'll go on the record right now and
We're all
say
against banning.
because hate speech is not illegal.
Right.
Absolutely. And there is one of the great classics. They say that it's illegal to shout fire in a crowded cinema. No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
That is not true.
No.
And the right to say whatever you think is something that the left fears and the left abhors. And I can abhor comments about all sorts of things, but I always have the ultimate power as a free individual to switch off, to change the channel.
To that point, I believe, this is what I believe. I'm not speaking for the center. I'm saying this is Tony Shaffer. Tony Shaffer believes that the term Black Lives Matter is racist, and by the definition of the left, that's hate speech. Because I don't believe any race should have any upper hand on any other race, period. So the moment you put anything in front of lives, you make it racist. So is that hate speech? Absolutely. Should we get it? So should I get into control of authority, in position of authority? Would I ban that? No, because I don't. While I find it is truly racist, I don't believe, because it's still not illegal. I'm not going to do anything to suppress that speech. I disagree with it. We should debate it, and it's racist. But I'm not going to stop it. To me, it's insane. The moment you stop something, you create conditions for it to take on a life of its own, and they're off you go, like we're seeing right now. So,
isn't it interesting that in academia there is so much fuss about this being universities are set up for the free exchange of ideas, but there's so many right wingers have been banned by the universities,
right,
at the behest of small groups of students. And in particular, again, Tony, you talk about bias and all the rest of it, and they want diversity in the universities. How diverse are they when 97% of their faculty are left wing?
Okay.
And that's the trick of that word nonpartisan that they use. Nonpartisan means Democrat. Partisan means Republican.
Yep.
That works.
So when I was in college back in the 19th century, no, it wasn't that long. That's Joe Biden. When I was in college in the 80s, and by the way, Chris and I love 80s stuff. Chris is,
Yes.
For those of you who don't know Chris is an 80s guru. You got to check out his other stuff. That's right. There you go.
That's my show,
But
Revenge of the 80s.
By the way, I miss the 80s. I love the 80s. Boy, I miss my Miami Vice, linen jackets, and
That's
no
right.
socks.
Thin
It's
ties.
just, it was a different time. It was great. Anyway, I digress. So back in the 80s when I was in college, and I'll say this, I hope he doesn't mind me throwing him under the bus. Dr. Jim Walker. Jim is now retired out in Phoenix. Jim, I think by his own account, he was what I would consider a traditional liberal, a classic liberal. And he knew it was the worst kept secret at Wright State that I was already doing spy stuff. I was flying off doing all this stuff, and all the faculty had to know, because I'd have to leave in the middle of the quarter to go do something, and we had to explain it and give them copies of orders. Anyway, Jim knew that I was already kind of part of the establishment, and he was cool with it. And it was so funny that no matter how he felt about me and my political bent, he actually hired me onto the mock trial team with no, I had zero pre-law, but he simply hired me onto the team because he felt I had the skills that he could develop to win, and we did. We won the national championship, and I appreciated Jim by the fact we did not get along politically. We disagreed on most things, but Jim had the courage to set aside political differences for purposes of trying to, and he gave me some great skills which I still use today regarding legal theory, process, having the discussions, debates. These are all skills which I appreciate he provided me, even though politically we were very different. And to this day, we're still close friends despite that political divergence. That's the system of politics I came up in, and I actually very much miss. And I miss parachute pants too. So, but that's a different story. So,
Tony, I gotta throw a similar story I have, and it goes along the same vein. This was in college. It was the '90s. I had a professor named Professor Good. He was a journalism teacher at the State University of New Paltz. Good man, very to the left, but fair. Okay.
yeah,
He would always put his left wing views forward when it came to a discussion, but he let the class have open conversation about what he said and about journalism in general. So one day,
right.
and again, this is a time where also a lot of students think, hey, wait a minute, I got to parrot what the professor says, or else, oh no, I'm not going to get a good grade. So one day, maybe after 4 or 5 essays, Professor Good, no, I did pretty well in the class. The class was called, get this, all right, ready? It was called Ethics in Journalism.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know where Stelter was during those classes, but again, but the fact
He was in the cafe during the all you could eat beef day.
that's where I was.
Yeah.
So the professor comes out and says, "All right, you guys," and these were like typical lefties in college. They were in they were part of the school paper and everything, so they figured they were the greatest journalism students ever. He goes, "A lot of you think you have to parrot what I say because I'm saying this here, but no, I want you to learn how to write an essay. You're supposed to learn how to write an essay. When you do that, you state your facts and you back them up. If you don't do that, I'm not giving you a good grade." Take Chris here, for instance. No matter how repulsive and disgusting I find his opinions, he always backs them up and puts them in essay form. But that's
great.
back then when you had fairness and you had quality when it comes to writing. You see, journalism is almost dead because, and again, I don't say I'm not sure if it's just the fact that we have lower quality people, but we have 24-hour news cycles, we have internet news, and everybody's afraid to be the last guy to report something, that so much false news is put out there and nobody cares when the truth gets placed on page 78 in the paper or put out in another blog post 10 hours later.
Well, that's the issue.
This
Isn't
is
it
very
amazing?
important. It's very important to realize that journalism is not dead. It's much worse than dead. It's malevolent and a force for evil. That's what dead is fine. You want to be dead? Okay, we'll figure it out on our own. But
The issue is, to me, objective truth. And to your point, Jay, reporters no longer are held to the standard of reporting objective truth. And you all know, and I don't want to get into it, I'm very close friends with a couple of real journalists. Some of us interact with them on a regular basis. And there are a few left, but very few. And their coin of the realm is, what can I say to tell the whole story so people can decide for themselves? And it's interesting. And going back, just one more little thing from college. Some of you know, and I've actually ran into, let me see what I ran into here. Jack Kingston, Congressman Kingston. We were talking Saturday night, and I talked about the fact that I had an environmental studies degree. And he said, "Tony, how did you not become a liberal?" I said, "Well, because back in those days, in the '80s, they actually taught environmental studies." And one of the finals I had to do was a 2-hour blue book. Basically, the old blue books. They gave you a blue book and a piece of paper, and you had to diagram from memory, no books, the functioning of a nuclear power plant. You had to diagram everything, and you had to label it all. You had 2 hours to do it. No, and that was the final. And back in those days, it wasn't a thesis on why nuclear was bad. It's just explain how a nuclear plant needs to be established, label everything to explain safe operations. You would never have that today because it would be about the concept of nuclear being bad rather than trying to understand the technology and how it works.
Thank you for watching this clip of Thought to Action Live presented by the Herb London Center for Policy Research. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the big red bell for updates so you know when we're putting anything out. Also, check out our Teespring store and our website, londoncenter.org. The Teespring store has all sorts of pretty cool stuff we put out there. We have new t-shirt designs coming out soon and much more. The link is in our description. You can watch our full live stream on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/thought2action. That's patreon.com/thought2action. Once again, that link is also in the description. Also, as a member of our Patreon page, you can see sneak previews of our programs, watch them before anybody else. Exclusive content will be available, and you'll have access to our full Ask Us Anything sessions where we answer your questions. Once again, thank you very much for watching this clip of our live stream. Stay informed and make your day a great one. Thank you for watching this clip of Thought to Action Live presented by the Herb London Center for Policy Research. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the big red bell for updates so you know when we're putting anything out. Also, check out our Teespring store and our website, londoncenter.org. The Teespring store has all sorts of Pretty cool stuff we put out there. We have new t-shirt designs coming out soon and much more. The link is in our description. You can watch our full live stream on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/thought2action. That's patreon.com/thought2action. Once again, that link is also in the description. Also, as a member of our Patreon page, you can see sneak previews of our programs, watch them before anybody else. Exclusive content will be available, and you'll have access to our full Ask Us Anything sessions where we answer your questions. Once again, thank you very much for watching this clip of our live stream. Stay informed and make your day a great one.